Well, with graphing these functions, it's a good idea to separate the x-axis information and the y-axis information. X-axis information is like the period and the phase shift. So the period means how long does it take on the x-axis to draw one complete cycle of the graph. Phase shift means after you've drawn one cycle of it, was it shifted left or right? Then for the y-axis information, there is the amplitude, and then vertical shift. So amplitude means how tall is it from the center of the graph up to the top. Vertical shift means did it get shifted up or down. Now the graph of tangent. So just as a quick reminder, the graph of tangent looks like this. That's if it's just tangent of x, and then it has these asymptotes at pi over 2, and on the left, negative pi over 2. All right, that's the basic shape that we're dealing with. So the period between half of a pi and negative half of a pi, that's a total of pi. So the period is equal to pi. Now for this function, because it has a 3, you then divide by 3. The phase shift would come in if this said x plus something or x minus something. Since it doesn't say that, the phase shift is 0. It did not get shifted left or right. Amplitude. Well, amplitude means go from the center of the graph up to the top. And how tall is it? Well, this goes up to infinity. So you could say amplitude is infinity, or you could just say for tangent, it's not applicable. And then the vertical shift is going to be this 3 right here. With this 3, it could be right here, or it could be right here. Either way, that's the vertical shift. And because it's a positive 3, it means it got shifted up by 3. So now start sketching the graph. And I always start with this. Number 1, the period. So the period is pi over 3. But remember it has asymptotes. So it's going to have asymptotes. There they are. And in total, the length between the asymptotes is pi over 3. That means half of it has to go over here, and half of it has to go over here. Well, if you find half of this, and you multiply across, that's going to be pi over 6. So this will be positive pi over 6, and this will be negative pi over 6. Next, the phase shift, so this is what I do second, means do I shift this to the right or do I shift this to the left? This had a 0, so we don't shift it. Amplitude is not applicable here, but it got shifted up by 3. So this point right here, which was 0, 0, is going to have to be shifted up by 3. Now, the negative. So instead of it going like this, it's going to do the opposite. So this side will get flipped up here, and then it'll go down like this, and this side will get shifted down here. So it'll look like this. And that's the graph. But of course, I want to check it. I forgot to write, this would be 3rd step, this would be 4th step. But of course, I want to check it with the graphing calculator. So y equals 3 minus 2 tangent of 3x. Now change the window to look like this. Go from negative pi over 6 to positive pi over 6. And this part, the scale doesn't really matter, so I'm just gonna leave it the way that it is. And because this is going to infinity and negative infinity, I should probably put big numbers like negative 20 to positive 20. And that is looking pretty similar to my graph. That point right there, if I go trace and plug in a 0, it says y equals 3, which is that 3 right there. So we're done with that one's graph.